So economic stimulus. Okay, it looks like Congress got their heads together and has potentially reached a deal, over $2 trillion deal, to get some checks and some direct payments into the hands of individuals and businesses across the country. New loans, all kinds of stuff. But I think what most people are really concerned about and what most people are fixated on is like, hey, what kind of relief are we going to get? What kind of direct payments are we going to get as individuals here in this country? Okay, we're going to break that down and we're going to talk about this economic stimulus package. We're going to unpack some of the details around these direct payments from the government that many of you will receive, but some will not. Okay, we're going to break it down in today's training. Hey everyone, it's Mike Adams, and on this channel we empower individuals to achieve freedom through improved financial literacy. If you are new to this channel, make sure to click subscribe and click the bell so that way you get notified on any and all of our future content. So in today's video, and again, this is a little bit different content than what we normally cover here on the channel. We're definitely not turning this into like a news channel or anything like that. We want to focus on financial literacy. But right now, I guess it's just a calling of the times that this is what's on everybody's mind right now. And so I wanted to talk a little bit more about the new and potentially new deal, the economic stimulus package, and to talk to you guys a little bit more about how much money can you expect to receive from the government as a part of one of these direct payments that's going to be going direct to individuals. And obviously within a $2 trillion plus stimulus bill, we already know that some of the big businesses, big corporations that have taken big time hits, okay, during this crisis are going to get some bailout money. Okay, they're going to get bailed out, whether that's in direct payments, whether that's in low recourse or no recourse loans that are going to be going to them to keep them afloat. A lot of big businesses are going to be bailed out by this. And it's very similar to what we saw back in 2008 when, obviously the market and everything crashed. The big banks got their bailout, but all the individuals were really left, just hanging high and dry. And so what's decent about this particular stimulus is that there's going to be direct payments going directly to the people. And right now people need it. So many, we're talking about millions of people that have been laid off from their jobs, that have, had their hours cut or reduced, or really just don't have the ability to go out there and earn an income. And what I know about most people in this country is most people want to work for their money. Most people don't want a free handout. Most people don't want to rely on the government for anything. But the bottom line is, this is just one of those very unique situations in the world where, the government's got to step up and do something to help people get through this crunch, which is crippling many families financially. And there's a lot of stress and a lot of worry about it. So as a big part of this economic stimulus, there's going to be direct payments going out to the people. And so I wanted to just kind of break that down and talk about, who's going to be getting these particular checks, how much are these checks going to be, and from there, talk a little bit more about, the repercussions of this type of stimulus program. Because one thing that we all know is there's no such thing as a free lunch, okay? So bottom line, let's talk about some of the numbers here real quick. And it looks like what we're seeing is that for, again, and we'll talk about the income thresholds in a minute, but the bottom line is we're looking at about $1,200 per adult from the government. So a direct payment of $1,200 from the government. So if you are married, that'll be $2,400 total. And then you got $500 per child, okay? So let's say you're married, you're a family of two, that'd be $1,200, $1,200, $500, $500. You're looking at about $3,400 in direct payments directly from the government. And so I think it would kind of be like when you get a tax refund, you just get one of those government checks that comes in the mail. And what they're looking at is they're going to be looking at your income from the year 2018, okay? They can't really look at your income from last year because not everybody's filed their taxes. And they actually pushed the date out. So instead of it being April 15th being big tax day this year, they actually pushed it out 3 months into July before folks have to actually have their taxes filed. So not everybody that would qualify for this has done their taxes yet. So they're going to be going by 2018's taxes. Okay, so regarding these checks, If you qualify, it's going to go based on your 2018 numbers, and if you qualify, you don't have to do anything. Okay, they have it all in their big old government computer out there, and they're just going to run the numbers. And if you qualify based on your 2018 numbers, okay, you will get a check. As far as when those checks will arrive, I'm not quite sure about that yet. As of the recording this video, I don't have a date or see a date anywhere as far as when those checks are expected to be received. My assumption is that they're going to want to get them out as quickly as possible, because for many, many folks, rent is due, car payments are due, bills are due. And there's already, concern that banks are running short on cash, things like that. So, most people are going to pay their bills with that money. And so the idea is that, that's going to provide cash to the businesses. The business will be able to stay open, keep people employed, etc. Okay. Now, where does it stop? Okay, is everybody going to be getting a check? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Okay, if you earned a lot of money in 2018 or you're a high income earner, chances are you're not going to be getting one of these direct checks. So it looks like for individuals with an income of $75,000 or less, you will be getting a check in the amount that I described. For families that are under $150,000, again, you'll get the checks as described. So again, $1,200 per adult, $500 per child. And it looks like the income cap, okay, if you earn a little bit more than that, that's where it starts to phase out. So you'll see potentially a reduced amount. As well, again, if let's say you're an individual and you're making over 75, so let's say you made 85,000 in 2018, you might receive an amount, but either A, it's going to be a little bit less than the 1,200 as an individual adult, or B, you're going to receive it, but you may have to pay some of that back over the next couple of years. So again, if you're a high income earner, and I say that, it's hard to say that with such a straight face, if you're $75,000, you're a high income earner, and it's like, it's unfortunate because, $75,000, maybe back in the 80s, if you're earning that annually, 75 grand, that's stretched, right? That might even be enough to support an entire family. But now, $75,000 annually, even though the government is saying, high income earner, we need to phase this check out, it doesn't quite stretch as far as it used to, based on all the inflation, and obviously we're going to see more of that with all the money printing. So, in my mind, I feel like these numbers are a little bit low for folks that are still going to need some help. So you're telling me that somebody that made 75,000 as an individual, if they made 100 grand, they're in that different of a situation, right? Or if you're a family and you're both out there working and you make 160 grand combined versus 150, that they're in that different of a scenario to where they don't need the additional assistance. The bottom line out there is when you make more money, and I learned this from all my years in corporate America, it's like you start making more money, you start spending more money. And so, when you look at cash flow numbers from folks that are, at a lower income range versus a higher income range, a lot of times those ratios are essentially the same, just based on what they're earning as far as free cash flow. Okay. So, certainly I think that these limits could go a little bit higher. I think there's folks that are going to be right above these thresholds that could certainly use one of these direct payments. But unfortunately, it looks like the cap on couples is going to be at 198,000, so just under 200 grand. So if in 2018 you earned over $200,000, unfortunately, you may not see one of these magic, government checks. And again, you may not be in position to where you need one. I think there'll be some folks that do make a couple $100 grand that might be a little over leveraged and be in position to where they could use one of these checks, especially during this time, especially if they've lost a little piece of their income. Okay. But that's the way it's going to go. Perhaps there'll be some other things in the bill that will support individuals in that particular scenario. But the bottom line is this, so those are some of the numbers. Those are some of the checks that you might be receiving from the government. The one big thing to think about with this, when we talk about economic stimulus, we talked about how there's no such thing as a free lunch. The bottom line is eventually this stimulus, right now we're talking about $2+ trillion worth of stimulus. It will need to be repaid back at some point. And who pays for this type of spending? Right? You're looking at me, pull out a mirror and look at you too. Because every single taxpayer is going to be on the hook, for years, right? For years, to start chipping away and paying this back. What is that exactly going to look like in the future? There's no way to tell. But again, this is going to result in some additional taxation, down the line to offset, this extreme deficit spending that's going to be happening because of this. So, I really just wanted to talk about that and kind of get the conversation started a little bit. I'll be curious to hear what you guys think about this economic stimulus in the comments. So hopefully this helped, and hopefully you guys got a little value out of this discussion here today. If you did, make sure to give this video a like and give it a comment below. Make sure you jump into the discussion on this. What do you think about this economic stimulus? Is this something that we as Americans truly need? Some will say yes, some will say maybe not. Do you have concerns that we're going to be paying this $2+ trillion price tag for a very long time? Are you someone that's against kind of kicking the can down the road? Because in a way, that's kind of what we're doing here. So I'll be curious to hear what you guys think about this in the comments. That's all for this video. We'll see you in the next one.